Welcome everybody to the last video, probably, of the year. I just wanted to do a bit of a review of all the features that have launched on OddAlerts over the past 12 months because it's the first time, it's the first year, first calendar year that OddAlerts has completed. It launched in 2020, towards the end of 2020. Version 1 came out in September. So yeah, this is the first full calendar year, and I'll do this kind of season review, if you will, every year. So, and I just wanted to go through month by month and just explain some of the features and how they launched and how they were improved, and if there's any further improvement that can be taken. I'm sure there is on many of them. So let's get started with January. Now, at this point in OddAlerts life, you could create filters, but there was no tracking at all. So that was one of the biggest things on my list. It was always one of the biggest tasks that I wanted to do, and it took a while. I think it took the first 10 days of January, if I remember correctly. And it allowed you to track your filters. So people were creating filters, and that was it. There was no way to actually validate unless you tracked the games yourself, which many people did. You know, I used some of their spreadsheets and feedback that they were giving me on Telegram or wherever, and implemented that into the filter tracking. So you could add a desired outcome to a filter, and if you did that, it started to track it. And it was very basic at first, and the tracking happened every time you opened the filter, and it was from this moment. So it was from January, I think it might have been the 5th of January, that's when filter tracking started. And it's when I started to implement frozen stats in the database, which is how you can do filter tracking. So yeah, it was still quite basic, but it was a pretty good jump forward for filters in general. And then in the middle of January, I want to say, referee stats launched. And as is the case with a few things that launch, I'm following my own intuition and my own research flow. So at that time I was betting on cards, and I soon learnt that the referee is just as important as the 22 players on the pitch when it comes to betting on cards. And my flow then went from, okay, I'm on OddAlerts, checking the stats, making filters, but now I have to leave to go and find this referee and his stats, and there was a few issues with that. The first one is, you know, I want the referee stats to be there when you need them. That's the best user experience. But then the next issue that I found was, even when I was looking on Google for referee stats, it was very scattered. There was some sites that had stats for this ref, and then there was the Premier League website which has good stats for their referees, but it's not really tied to betting. It's not really tied to markets and how many times a certain market has occurred. So that was the objective, and obviously with the referee page, I wanted to make it as easy as possible to check the stats. So the whole thing works without having to refresh the page. You can just click on a referee, see his games, his or her games. You can favorite the referee, you can see all their stats, average cards, the amount of times that they've booked both cards, booked both teams in the first half, second half, overall, everything, yeah. And it was a big success, because it was something that I craved. You know, it was needed. It was a gap in my own research flow, as I say, and there's a few things like that on this list. So the next thing was public filters. Another trend that I noticed when looking through this list is that I wanted to, in 2021, and just in general really, is increase the social aspect of OddAlerts, and have people sharing the site, not in a hacky kind of way, but because they want to, because they've got something to share, get people interacting with the content a little bit more. So public filters. And this was interesting actually, and the inspiration for this was the users themselves. So filter tracking launched, which allowed you to view your own percentage of your own filter based on the desired outcomes. And it presented it in a nice clean way, and people were screenshotting their little percentage bars and sharing them on Twitter without any push from me or from the like the feedback on the website. It didn't ask for you to share it or anything, but a lot of people were doing it. So it made sense to sort of build that into the website and make a public link per filter. So what you could then do is share your filter link, and when people opened it, they could see all of your desired outcomes, they could see your hit rate, and at the click of a button they could actually add that filter to their account. So yeah, as I say, inspired by actual users and their behavior already, but yeah, it adds a lot of value once you just look at that and think about how you can implement something like that. So yeah, a nice little social feature there. Corner availability alerts, again, user feedback, really good bit of advice and feedback from a few users to have availability alerts on corners. Availability alerts have since been revamped completely, but you can still set them on individual games, which is what that was improving. And then peak odds. So peak odds, a lot of these relate to filter tracking because that was the main launch in January. And peak odds, I knew I had to get it in at some point, and it took a while to build it in, but it's essentially tracking all of the live odds in all of the games all the time, and just updating whatever is the highest odds hit per market. And this was important because if you've got a filter and you're now tracking that filter, not every filter is designed for pre-match betting. So you've got some that are for first half corners, first half goals, home wins, where you're finding really good home teams with short odds, and you want to see how many of those games where the odds increased by 33%, or how many games hit evens for first half goals. How would this have done? Would I have captured that value? And it was just implemented in the back end at first, so I made sure that it was all capturing the data well. And then I think with this release as well, towards the end of January, I just made it available on the fixtures at first. So per fixture, you could go in and you could just check what the peak odds were for a home win. And that was interesting to just share it a bit at first. And I don't think peak odds had been, I'm sure that people had been talking about it before, but when I was sharing it, people at first didn't really understand why. What's the point? You're just showing me like what you could have won, and that is kind of the point, because when you have a filter tied to it as well, you can see that X number of games. At this point, you couldn't, but I knew it was coming. So I think that's why people were confused, because all they saw was this list of peak odds per fixture. Like, how is that helping me? But obviously when you've got a filter, and you can then filter out for all the games or see how many games hit a certain market, which came later, that's when that data becomes valuable. So that brings us on to February. And with this list as well, I've omitted a few things, like just random, like general one-off stats that were added, or filter rules that were added. You know, they're there, but this list is mainly things that took up bigger chunks of time and worth mentioning. So for some, it might just say new filter rules added, if there was like 5 or 10 added at the same time. So yeah, general UI improvements on the fixture feeds. I think the toolbar was improved as well there. How you select upcoming mode and change the date and stuff like that. Keyboard shortcuts. Yeah, I remember this update. Yeah, keyboard shortcuts at the same time, so you can quickly change the stat scroller and what it shows with your keyboard. And there's a few updates in this list as well. It's like, how did people survive before? You know, without like, even some of the updates that have just launched, like with quick filters, I just can't imagine the fixture feeds without it now. It's strange. So yeah, February, looking at this list, it seems that I built on some of the feedback from filter tracking, because you've got a new way to view your filters inside the filters page. You've got the ability to include and exclude leagues. And And this came from feedback around the leagues. I remember this, that people were saying, you know, I want to know which leagues are performing well. So league performance was added, and then also on top of that, if you saw that a league was running at 20% after 15, 20, 30 games, whatever, you can exclude it from that filter. And yeah, they're just slow and steady improvements to filter tracking, really, in February it seems. And the biggest one, of course, there towards the bottom of the list is the odds performance tool, and you can see it in the screenshot to the right. And this is what I was talking about with the peak odds and how the data becomes key. So once your filter has found the games, the games based on the rules and everything, what you can then do, the next step is you pass those games through the odds performance tool. And in the first version, you select a market, and the market had to match with your desired outcome at first, which was a bit confusing for people once they changed the market, and it was like giving these weird results. We sorted that in the end, but I answered a lot of like tweet messages and stuff like that on this, because it was confusing. If your market didn't correlate to your desired outcome, then it would give a weird result. But what it allowed you to do when you did match up those the outcomes in the markets is show you profit, and that was the next step, really, because once you've got the results, you can see, okay, this filter has won 80% of the time, it's got an 80% hit rate, but what's the profit? And this unlocked that thanks to peak odds, and obviously the pre-match odds as well, but peak odds was able to be fed into the odds performance tool. You could favourite referees as well, just another bit of feedback from the referee page, which launched in January. And I started to accept crypto. I just jumped onto that fad. Not many people pay with crypto, which is probably understandable as it's more of an investment. March, this is version 3.0. I remember this. Well, I should remember it, shouldn't I? But I mean, I remember the workload. Exporting your alerts, that was a pretty highly requested feature, actually. Creating and using presets, again, it's just a natural progression of features, really. We had the planner launch when was the planner launch? I think November 2020. So you can see another item in March was the ability to select all games from the planner. And that was a bit of a game changer, because you can just load a first half corners filter, select all the games, maybe deselect a few of them that you don't like the look of, if it's first, hosting, second or something. And then instead of going into the alerts tab and then finding the market, finding the odds and hitting save, you can just go to the presets tab and set an alert based on a preset. And it's just really quick to set up, and yeah, saves a lot of time for a lot of users, I think. And it was a bit of an update for the planner in March by the looks of it. You've got the UI improvements as well, select all, and the ability to create and share lists, that worked from the planner, but also the fixture feed. And again, just part of the attempt to make OddAlerts a bit more social, both on the site and off the site. If you can just share the list with your friends or with your community at any time. It's just a nice little feature to have. It worked really well, just quick and easy to do it once you've loaded a filter. And yeah, a lot of people use this, actually. A lot of whether it's like tipsters or something, sharing their list for the day, first half goal list or whatever. And yeah, I'll open up TweetDeck and just type in the URL, and you can see quite a few people posting. So that's good. I use it sometimes as well. It's good. It's a good little tool for marketing on Twitter. If I've created a filter quickly, and then I can just share the games that it returns for that day. And it's yeah, really nice little feature. Yeah, this one, April, core database update. This is the biggest gap, I think, this year between updates. So maybe it was like a week or two between updates, which for me is painfully long, really. If I'm getting feedback that can be implemented, I like to implement it and act on it quickly. But with this, there's some tasks that you just need to get your head down and work on them, and there's no way around it either. There's absolutely nothing you can do when you realize this needs to be done. And it related to filters and filter tracking and the ability to be a bit more flexible with adding new stats at any time, and it not affecting filters and stuff. Yeah, I just needed to do it, and I think in the update message I likened it to a bit of a roller coaster, in that when I was building this, you're on the way up, and with just software development in general, you're going to have those times where, you know, a roller coaster where you're just going up, 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 and it's slow and it's tense and you're waiting till you get to the top. But once you get to the top, which is me finishing this little task, then it's downhill from there in a good way, because it's fast and it's fun. And this database update, yeah, as I say, it offered a lot more flexibility with me coding new features. So it took about 2 weeks, and it was something that had to be done. And then the next thing that launched, I wanted to just get away from any database work and just do something fun in a short space of time. There's a few tasks this year where I've just given myself a day, one day, call it 12 hours or something. It's like a hackathon type task, and the bet builder was the same. I wanted to create a page where you could create bet slips, accumulators, based on pre-defined rules and conditions. So, and these were just general rules as well, but it's worked quite well. And you can just go through and select them, and you can toggle for the last 5, last 6, and last 10. And this is the first place on the site that actually allowed you to filter with those last 5, last 6, and last 10 rules. And yeah, it proved to be quite powerful. And again, it was a social feature in a way, because you could create your bet slip and then click one button to populate a tweet. It does it for you. You just click the button and it just goes to Twitter, and all the games are there, and you just hit send. And that was a good little marketing tool, but also a pretty useful feature that people love. And the bet builder has been updated a little bit, but not much, because there's not much feedback really. After the first couple of weeks that it launched, people just come back to it and use it and really like it. And yeah, it took about a day or two to build, and I use it. I use that page. I love the trends page as well. I use filters a lot, probability page, which we'll get to as well. But yeah, that was a little project, and I'm sure there'll be more in the future of these little one-day hackathon type projects. And yeah, the bet builder was one of them. After that, it seems that there was a bit more focus on the fixture, a bit more front end work. After, I think it makes sense, you know, because that first chunk of April was so intense, with database stuff and data and computation and all that, all the stats and everything, making sure everything's right, checking that all the stats and all the processing is working regardless of the league, regardless of the kind of data that is available for that league, and making sure it does the right thing based on that. So it looks like I just moved completely to front end stuff. We've got injury lists, we've got weather reports, we've got new stats, improvements to the odds tool. That's not necessarily front end, but it's a quick little fix. League positions on fixtures, that probably took about an hour. Yeah, UI improvements and stat trends inside the fixtures. So this was the bar charts and stuff that went across by game week. I thought that was pretty good actually. The trends gives you more of the occurrences than the stats that were in there at the time. And again, looks like I continued on the same path really. Formations were added, another front end feature. And this is where the probability page was added, so you can find value bets based on the probability model, and comparing the probability model against Bet365 to find value. Really popular page, really successful page in terms of the actual results from the page, in how it finds value bets. It's incredible. And then more improvements to filters, so auto league exclusion. This allowed people to exclude leagues based on, well, automation based on a percentage of hit rate per league. So if a league was falling behind and was, let's say, less than 20%, then it would just be knocked off your filter results. Include only mode, so this was a bit, I think the feedback that led to this was that some people had filters and they only wanted it to ever check the Premier League, or the Premier League and La Liga, the top 5 leagues or something. And the way before this little update was to build the filter and then go through every single league and exclude it. Now that is just a massive task to do. So sometimes it's better to flip it and just have leagues that you include only. Frozen stats on past fixtures. This was something simple, but it was a bit of a light bulb when it happened. It didn't take long to do at all because the stats were already there in the database. But going back to a previous fixture and having visual feedback that the stats are frozen, it's got a little snowflake there, and seeing what the stats were like before that game is great, because you can look at your filter results and then look at the stats of the game. And I found that it was a great little practice tool. So you could go back into the past, look at games, and look at the result of the game, look at the in-play stats, and then look at the pre-game stats and say, would you have made this prediction? And then obviously tying that in with filter results was pretty powerful as well. Stat tables in fixtures. This was something that was, again, it was one of those one-day projects, but it was really useful. So you can rank all the teams in the league by stats, by whatever stat. So first half goals scored or goals conceded, corners for in the first half. You can just click it and it'll just rank them, and it'll highlight the 2 teams that are playing in that game, because this is accessed via the fixture. So yeah, May was a pretty decent month. I had in my mind here, when I looked at this before, I think it was July. July was the month where I think there was a lot of value added. June, we're getting into the end of the season, isn't it? May and June, maybe that's, yeah. So we had the Euro 2020 page, which I loved building that. It was, we had player stats on there, which updated during the game. We had the team pool thing, if you remember, on Twitter and everything, and on Telegram. So every user that was signed up that visited the Euros page was randomly selected a team. And then at the end of the competition, I gave away a classic football shirt, gave away some money, and gave away what else was it? I gave away a football book to somebody at the top 3 places. And then, but during the games, every game, if your player scored, if your team scored more than once, if they got a red card, just random things, you would there would be a random draw after every game if these parameters were hit for free OddAlerts throughout the month. And I think I'll always do stuff like that during the off season. Obviously, it's easier when there's a competition like the Euros being played, so you've got something to base it against. But yeah, I mean, it costs nothing for me, and it's just again, it's just all about the community. It just strengthens it and improves that social aspect of the product, especially when you can see that other people are winning, as is on the Bet the Day page at the minute. You can see the list of names of people that have won a free month in the past 24 days just by submitting a Bet of the Day submission. So June, the off season, I also worked on the new odds performance tool, which was completely isolated in a good way. So you could pass in fixtures, and previously the odds performance tool, as I was talking about before, there was a bit of confusion with, you had to select a market that was tied to your filter. The new odds performance tool, the number one thing that it had to do, it had to be able to check any market. Because if you're looking at first half corners on your filter, you might just want to quickly check how that same filter has performed for 8 Asian corners over the game, and looking at the peak odds for that market. And with this, you can do that with the odds performance tool now. So that was a big update, and I think a lot of people appreciated that. My Twitter DMs certainly appreciated that because of the lack of confusion now. Number of live markets on feeds. This was a small thing, but quite an important one, and it makes the product feel more alive. When you're looking at the live feed of fixtures, there's a little green number, and that was suggested by James, the silent one, who you'll probably know from Twitter. And yeah, I mean the data's there, and I thought that was a great idea, easy to implement as well. Just count the number of markets and show it, but it really does help, because if you know Bet365, you can sort of just scan and see how many markets are available and think, yeah, if it's 12 markets, then it's very limited. The bet builder's not going to be very open either. And then obviously you look at the Prem games and it's like 144 markets. So yeah, that was a good little feature, and as I say, it just makes the product feel a bit more alive. Last 25 form on fixtures. Again, this took a little bit of time, maybe a couple of days. And I prepared this for the Euros. I did it for the Euros, but I was doing it really for the new seasons getting underway, because a lot of these games on the stats scroller would just be 0, 0, 0 or no stats. So I wanted to create something where it would automatically show the last 25 games across their previous season and across all competitions as well. So that's now available on every fixture, of course, but at first it was limited to the Euros. So you could go into the Euros and look at Italy and see that they're unbeaten in the last 25 games, or you could look at England and see that, I think one of the stats that stood out there was the second half had seen most goals in like 80% of games for England, and it was true in the tournament as well. So yeah, first birthday as well, of course. The beta was opened up in June 2020. July, this was a massive month for me, and I enjoyed working on this. And I'm looking at August at version 4 and just thinking that is also a massive month. And it was because in my head as well, I knew I was going back to England at the start of August for a few months, and I just worked all the time pretty much to get these done. And the pressure algorithm, there was a focus on live data and the trends in play, so you can see how many attacks they've had in the last 5 minutes. You can see it on a chart, you can see it per 5 minutes, and then you've got the averages across the game. That came first, and then whilst I was processing all that data, I started to work on the pressure algorithm, which would become the pressure gauges that you see in the fixture feeds, and of course the pressure monitor that you can see on the right hand side there as well. And again, that pressure algorithm took a while because I wanted to make it right. I don't really agree with there's a few out there where they just add up points per, it's like, well, we give it 10 points for a recent shot. And then you have these pointing systems where it's sort of just like, it's not out of 100. I wanted to make it out of 100. I wanted to make it a bit of a gauge so that you could actually see where the pressure was, rather than just like a kind of point system, if that makes sense. And that, I did a bit of research into the ones that are out there at the minute, and that's what I found. They were open with their algorithm because it was quite simple. And I didn't really like that, but each to their own, The probability page UI was improved. I think it was completely revamped actually. New in-play stats as well. The interface changed, as you can see on the right hand side just below there. It used to look just like the pre-match stats do, but I just wanted to take a little bit of time and make that a little bit better, make it a bit more familiar. It looks how you would expect it to look on Bet365, similar layout, because familiarity is important, and getting those stats as quickly as you can is also important. Starting lineups were added, and yeah, looking at that, July is all about in play and pressure, and I think that was a good addition just before the start of the season, because we've got August coming up. And this was version 4. I remember working on this. This was just as I got to England, so I was a bit jet lagged, and it got delayed by a bit, only by about 5 days or so. Yeah, there was a bit of a gap. I remember, and then it launched, and yeah, people loved it. And the odds comparison, that took a while because there was a lot of formatting, odds coming in differently, just formatted strangely from some bookies, and took a while to format that. And there's still work to be done on the odds comparison. You know, there's some customizations that I want to add. People would like to just see their favorite bookmaker at the top, and then that's it. And then the comparison, obviously. But I think it's a pretty good. I personally think it's one of the best odd comparisons that you can get. And what I mean by that is, it's quick, it's simple, there's no adverts, it's relevant to the fixture. So if you're using a filter, you just have to click on the fixture and the odds comparison is there. Whereas the other websites, and again I go back to the top of this video where I was looking on external sites for the referee data, it would be the same kind of thing, and it was painful. Odds comparison websites are painful. They're not a good experience because their goal is, okay, yeah, they've got their goal, I guess, is to give you an odds comparison, but their primary goal is to make money from the adverts, the interference between showing you the odds. And when when the way that they make money is through you clicking on the odds, straight away, you know, like, how are they ordering the odds? What games are they going to show you first? There's no way to filter games or anything like that. And when you, again, you know, when your business model is adverts, then it's not in your best interest to keep everything on one page, keep everything on the same page without refreshing the page, which is the best user experience. So it goes against that. So odds checker, I think it is, you have to click a drop down to select another market, and then it opens another page because that's another eyeball technically on the ads. And I just kept noticing these things as I went to compare odds, and this is how the odds tool was born, the odds comparison. Yeah, the feedback was great, and more feedback was implemented into it, which I've left out of this August update, but there was plenty of things that were just added in. So that's that. Quick filters launched in August, and yeah, I can't imagine the fixture feeds without quick filters now. I said at the time when it launched, I think it's a game changer, and I still think it is, because I knew that I was going to add more to it. So odds filtering is there now, and last 5, 6 and 10 is there now. But the ability to just narrow down thousands of fixtures in a matter of seconds, and also the way you can combine all of that data, I haven't seen much around like that. I think the quick filters is probably one of the best ways to filter football matches on the internet, and happy to be proven wrong, of course, but I speak from experience, not just developing OddAlerts, but previous football websites as well, where I certainly know this wasn't the case. And again, it's just, I developed this for myself, so if I can't find it anywhere, I build it into OddAlerts. That's the way most of this has worked. If I can't find an odds comparison that works for me, that isn't quick, that isn't easy to use and switch between games and switch between markets, then I'm going to build it. I'm going to try and build it, and if I start to build it and I can see why people haven't built it, then I won't, and I'll hold my hands up. But with most of these things, with most of these websites, the reason they don't build the best product is because of their business model, which was the case with the odds comparison for sure. Discord launched, and between, you know, up there, July, August, and before as well, we had the Telegram group going. And yeah, shout out to the Telegram group, really, because that was a great place during the summer when the Euros was on. We were having, you know, votes in there. People were sharing people were sharing bets, but analysis as well. And as it grew, it was hard to keep track of all the bets. Telegram isn't necessarily a Wild West, but there's a lot of Telegram groups, a lot of links flying around, people jumping in and out quickly. And it was for anybody could join it at first, because I wanted it to be open and for everybody. But it was getting a little bit hard to control, so Discord was launched. And just one of the things with Discord is that it has channels. I think if Telegram had channels, then we might not have made the jump. But I'm happy we made the jump to Discord, because I do love it there. The channels are really nice and easy. We've got a Bet of the Day channel, there's a pre-match channel, live channel. So if you want to discuss a live game, you just go into the live game. And just that feature alone, compared to Telegram, the group we had in Telegram, it's just one stream of chat. That's it. There's no grouping. There's no dividing at all. So that was the main reason to move to Discord. And yeah, it's been great ever since. Just steady, and because it's for pro users only, so that helps with the rule setting, and people just don't break the rules. In Telegram, there was people that would come in. We would have like the dickhead of the day. So, someone would just come in and just be weird and then just leave. That happened a lot. So yeah, Discord helps with that as well. So after Quick Filters launch, you could then sort the fixture feed. This was another bit of a game changer, and it was something so simple that I'm a bit annoyed I didn't do it earlier. Because once you've generated a quick filter, or even it might have just been one of your filters from before Quick Filters was launched. So you might make a filter that looks at strong home teams over 2 points per game, and then you might put a rule in for an away team that's conceded in 80% of games or more, right? Now, you search for that and you know you've got a good shortlist there, but when you're able to then sort the feed by that second stat, you can sort the feed by the away teams conceding. It just makes it better. It's just better, and you can sort it by anything. So any of the rules that you add, you can sort it by. So if you wanted to again create a strong home team filter, and then add an odds rule to it, well then you can just sort by the odds. So you can just see which team has over 2 points per game on average at home, and let's sort it by the home win odds, please. And then that's a great way to go. And sometimes if your filters are returning quite a few games, being able to sort them is key. Also in version 4, rivalries. Shout out to my little brother who did the work on this one. I made him a front end where he could just go through and add rivalries, and yes, he spent a decent amount of time doing that. And now the end result is that if you're on the fixture feeds, you can see a little fire icon, and that means it's a rivalry. So yeah, I mean, it helps because if you're thinking about betting on a game or not, the rivalry aspect can put you off, or it can make you just take a second look anyway, especially if it's with regards to card markets. September, XG launched. It's been on the list forever since I launched OddAlerts. Even before that, it's an important metric, I think. It's not the be all and end all, but it is an important metric, and I was delighted to be able to source it and build it into the product. And obviously when you get a new data source, it takes a bit of time to actually connect it with your current data source. So that took a little bit of time, but now that it's there, it's plain sailing. And then you can filter for XG as well, which is good. There was a bespoke XG page launch where you can see all of the teams ranked for XG combined in one table. You can see the goals for, goals against, expected points. September was busy looking at this. We've got the trends page as well, upcoming mode in quick filters, which is another thing that I can't believe wasn't there before. The ability to look to show on the filter, on the fixture feed, the next 5 days worth of fixtures. Now, if you've used the planner, the ability to use this on the planner it's a massive improvement. New calendar, I just wasn't happy with the last calendar, it was a bit sluggish, so I redesigned it. Popular games section, again, a few things that I've done recently are about making the site feel more alive. The popular games section is that. The new alerts page, which came in October, was also along those lines, so you can feel that other people are using OddAlerts and this is the result of that usage. So popular games, you can see it at the top of any fixture feed, just a nice little scroller of the popular games for that day. Click one, it'll just open it without leaving the page. Combined referee stats, yeah, this was on the referee page, it was showing each referee's sort of campaign. So if a referee had a game coming up, it would show his FA Cup campaign, it would show his Premier League game campaign, even if it was just the Premier League record. So what I did is I only showed the relevant campaign, but then what I decided to do was actually merge, go a bit one step further and merge all the data that we've got on this referee and create a unified stat base, which shows by default, and then you can click into the ref and then you can see his breakdown. So it'll just give you his average cards across all of his games that we've got on record. So that was a big help. And also sticking with the referees was the automated referee alerts. This was a recommendation from Liam, so thank you for that. And it's just a great feature. You know, if you're betting on cards, people that bet on cards, they have routines really. They set the alerts for the fixtures, see the card markets, check the stats, and then they're on the ball. They're checking the referees all the time, or they're waiting for the referees to be announced. They don't have to do that anymore because of the referee alerts. So, and this was the first step as well into automation in general. And I want to do more on that side in 2022. But this was the first type of alert where you just set it up once and that's it. So you just favorite the referee, and that's it. You'll receive his or her games when they're announced forever. Really nice feature, and I want to build more of those things. And that was my feeling at the end of September, because you can see in October the Trends Digest launched, and once there is a bit of a trend here where I'm thinking in a certain way, and a few features launch one after another that follow that kind of pattern. So the Trends Digest is exactly that, sticking with the automation vibe, if you will. This gets sent every morning at 7:30, and it was a sort of summary of the Trends page, which launched in September. And I got this idea because I was just sharing these games on Twitter anyway. I was like picking some games from the Trends page and sharing them, and then I sort of wanted to think about automating the Twitter, because I was writing a lot of the same content every day, and it wasn't that the content was repetitive, because the games changed and the stats changed, but I just felt it could be automated. And then came the digest. So the digest sends you a summary every morning at 7:30, and you can customize that daily digest, so you can pick the stats that you care about, that you see on the Trends page, and then you can just you get an alert every morning 7:30 as you're waking up, as you're on your way to work. You can check it out, and I think it's maybe one of my favorite things that's launched in the past few months. Actually, I just think it's a really useful feature, and I look forward to it every morning. And I have a focus on BTTS, so I've selected away goals, away wins, and BTTS, because when I'm looking at BTTS, I like to favour a sort of strongish away team, an away team that can handle themselves. Search bar improvements. I think in October I let you filter between results and upcoming games just to speed up the search. I mean, the search is rapid anyway, which was improved a few months previous to October. Odds filtering in quick filters, that was a very, very popular update, as was the new alerts page, because the new alerts page was building on the last one. wasn't much wrong with the last one, but this new one allowed you to view alerts as they were going out to people, and yeah, you could copy those alerts or you could just check them out. And the new alerts page as well allowed you to customize those Trends Digest settings, and also with a view to the first item in November there, which is the always on availability alerts. And this was one of those things, as I was saying at the top of the video, where it took a while, it took a lot of testing. I had people testing it for me as well, some of the users, so thank you if you were one of those users. And it's one of the most highly requested features from people that use the availability alerts. And the availability alerts are massive, because if you get there first on Bet365 and you know the league, you know the teams, you can compare the odds, and you can, you know, you're there first, you can see the opening odds. But the biggest piece of feedback was, you know, I'm betting on the Premier League every weekend. I want this on all the time. I know I'm going to be checking the card markets every single weekend. There isn't a weekend that comes by with the Premier League where I say, nah, I won't check the card markets. It's every week. So to save them time, to make their life easier, this was always on the agenda, this always on availability alerts. And to set them up, you go to your settings page, click the availability alerts icon, and then you can just select the type of alerts, the type of markets you want to be notified on per league, and that's it. Set it up once, it's done, and it works really well. You know, there's no delay now at all. I used to scan every 5 minutes, now it's literally every minute. Player booking polls. Again, this was a fun little hackathon type job. I just wanted to do this quickly because it was something we did in the Telegram over the summer, and I quite liked it. And it's something that me and my friends discuss in WhatsApp. You know, or let's have a card bet. You know, just maybe the you know, the £5 free bet that Bet365 give you. We usually, you know, pick a player each or something, or just run a poll in Telegram like we used to. So I wanted to try and emulate that. A lot of the jobs and tasks that have made it to this list are things that I used to do in the database, or things that we used to do in the Telegram, or things that we do on Twitter as a community, trying to bake them into the website. And that is the case with most of what happened in December. So to move on to December, oh, you can't see that, can you? Let me just move this up. So yeah, that's the end of the document here. In December, Bet of the Day launches. So we're in December right now as I record this. And December, it was supposed to be pretty low key when I looked at what was planned. I just had Bet of the Day planned, and I got that done quicker than I thought I would. Bet of the Day actually took about a day or two to make. You can submit a Bet of the Day, you do it through the fixture, where you would set an alert for odds. You can just click Bet of the Day instead, and the reaction to Bet of the Day has been amazing, and it makes me excited for what's coming at the start of next year, with bet tracking and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to launching that hopefully in January. Yeah, December's been great. I mean, these features, I didn't plan on doing them this soon. I mean, they'd always been there. They're always near the top of the to-do list because they're massive, really. They've been requested a lot. So the fact that Bet of the Day was done and dusted pretty early on in December, obviously there was some feedback straight away and I implemented it, but then I could take a look at what I thought would be the most important thing to do before the year has ended. And these were right up there. I mean, filtering for live stats and pressure, organising the feed, sorting it by live pressure or average pressure. That's something I used to do in the database every Saturday, around 60-70 minutes in a game, and you can see the average pressure and you can check the score, you can check the shots. You can do all that now. In the quick filters, you can do it all. And I can't wait. I mean, it launched a couple of days ago, so I can't really wait to check it out when there's like 300 games on, because 22nd of December. There's not many games. 24th of December. There's not many games being played. So yeah, that'll be interesting over the Christmas period. Filtering for the last X. That is again something that people have been craving for a while, because it's vital. You know, you can now look at a team and you can look at their most recent form, and you can even compare it. This is the beauty of the quick filters, in my opinion. You can add overall stats, and then you can also combine them with the last 10 games, the last 5 games, the last 6 games, the last 5 home games, you know. So the possibilities are pretty endless with the amount of rules and now different types of rules that are allowed in there. Date ranges being added to filters as well. That was something that I pushed with the last X, and that speeds up the filter process, but also allows you to view your filter results across a certain span of time. So you can view the last 7 days, last 30 days, 3 months, and I think 6 months, and then obviously just all as well. So yeah, I mean, why not? I'm just looking through the list, and you won't be able to see just to the right of me on the recent videos of on YouTube. You'll see in the background here there's a sort of sticky pad wall with all these kind of things on, and I was just looking at those and thinking, you know, some of these have been up for a long time, and I should really get to them before the year is finished. And those filter ones they've probably been on there since February or March, looking at, you know, the sort of updates that were pushed around that time. So yeah, really happy with the progress that's been made. Just finally, the quick fixture previews, which is something I've added to the trends page and the bet of the day page, and it just lets you click on a fixture and opens key stats. Now, without getting into the technical details, you might say, why don't you just open the fixture, like as you do on the fixture feeds and the bet builder page and stuff. I'm trying to build a completely new fixture, and I want to do it in a different kind of way, because the way that it works on the fixture feed and the bet builder page is fine, you know, in terms of usability and everything, but it's not as efficient in terms of performance. So I'm rebuilding it from the ground up, and I'm making little small changes to it here and there, and I'm going to be pushing and experimenting on the pages where those quick fixture previews are. So the trends page and the bet of the day page and the alerts page as well. And then in the future, that will become the main fixture component. It'll be easier to set alerts, it'll be easier and quicker to check stats and toggle different kind of stats. I mean, it's not hard at the minute, really. It really isn't hard at the moment, to be honest. There's not much wrong with the current fixture component. But that said, as I say, I want to recreate it just for performance, if not anything else. So yeah, that's that's the year. That's the calendar year in OddAlerts. I've got to say thank you to every single person that's used the website as a free user, as a pro user. It doesn't matter. I appreciate you all. The feedback is amazing. The Discord, the community, everything is great. So here's to 2022. And if you've watched all this, then wow, I didn't even know it had gone. It's 53 minutes. What? I'm only going over some features. How has it gone on for 53 minutes? That's crazy. Yeah, I will see you in the next one. And have a great Christmas and a happy New Year.